you're going in your own path and journey. So the only thing preparing yourself is like the steps you're taking for the next thing for yourself.
I think even just about practicing that teaches you patience and stuff.
Sometimes it doesn't come right away. So you just have to, being patient is like the number one thing. The smell, touch, vision, obviously consumes you in that calmness and being more present. How was my relationship with my mom? How was that like? Finding the strength within to keep going and not slow down just because of whatever happens in your environment.
Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast, where girls isn't about gender, it's about grit. We celebrate the dreamers, the builders, and the difference makers, bold enough to start. And so I am so excited about my guest today. And wherever you are tuning in today, I think you're going to be delighted. And we just want to say welcome. We're glad you're here today. And so I'm going to start with this. With a background in social psychology and clinical psychology, my guest began her career working in an acute crisis unit at San Mateo County Hospital, supporting clients navigating trauma, abuse, anxiety, substance abuse, and thought disorders. After being promoted to a rehab director and leading other therapists, she transitioned to working with adolescents, young adults with ADHD and autism spectrum disorder, deepening their experience in trauma-informed therapy, CBD, DBT, and mindfulness-based approaches. And so 3 years ago, she opened up her own practice. And so I am so excited to chat with her today. I think we're going to have a great time. But before I can bring her on here, you know the drill. We have to welcome or do a shout out to our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine.
And with that, I do want to make a mention to head on over to startergirlz.com. I tell you this every single week. And why do I say that? For 3 reasons. 1, because if you have missed an episode, it is a great place to catch up. It's also a great place to sign up for our community newsletter, and you can stay in the know of all these fabulous episodes that go out. And then also, if you are an aspiring creator, an entrepreneur, or maybe you're in the thick of it right now and you want to know what your number one success block is that may be hindering your success, well, guess what? I've got you covered. You can go over there and take my 2-minute quiz, and it will tell you exactly what block may be affecting your success right now. So as I always say, head on over to startergirlz.com and do your thing. All right, my guest today, Fedra Tehrani. I'm so excited to talk to her today. I think this is going to be so much fun. And so I want to welcome her to the show. She's got an amazing background. I think we're going to have a great time today. So Fedra, welcome to the Starter Girlz Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hi, Jen. How are you? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It'd be so much fun. So tell everybody where you're calling in from today.
I'm calling in from Bay Area, California, East
All
Bay
right.
Area.
How's the weather like there? How's the weather out there?
Today, absolutely gorgeous. We're very lucky.
Yeah, California has nice weather. I feel like every time I've been there, I feel like it's always been nice weather there.
It's
So
been really warm as of late. So, and well, cold and warm, but mostly warm. Yes.
yeah, we're okay. So my listeners probably know this, and maybe I told you this, but I'm outside of Dallas. And it's kind of weird right now because it's like this morning I got up and I'm like in my house and I'm like, dude, it's cold in here. And it's like 69 degrees in my house. And I'm like, I want to put the heater on. But then I look at the temperature and it's like going to be up to 80 today. And I'm like, okay, we're at that time of year where it's like cold and warm in the same part of the day, And so I just have to run around with my robe on to stay warm because that's the only way. People be like messaging me and they're like, why are you in your robe in the middle of the day? And I'm like, I'm kind of cold, So no complaining. I mean, we're having lovely spring days, but you just got to get through those cold mornings. So
I know no one should complain in California. We got it good.
Yeah, lovely place, lovely place. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you today. And I know we got lots to talk about. Don't know where this is going to go. I know you and I chatted for a few minutes before this because we were trying to kind of work through some of this. But as you know, none of these episodes are ever the same. And no matter how many times we sit here and say we're going to plan something, they never go that way. You know how it is. We're people, right? Nothing in life dealing. I was telling someone the other day, I was actually on a podcast and they were asking me a question about bottlenecks in my business. And I said, the bottlenecks to me are always the same. They're humans. Like it's always, we're dealing with people. And whenever you deal with humans, there's always a bottleneck, right? Because you
Yeah.
got to deal with the human conditions. So, I don't know if he thought that was funny or not, but that's my reality.
Yes, it all comes out at some point or another. So,
Right, right. So let's talk about your journey. I want to talk a little bit, back it up a little bit to what brought you here today. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to do the work that you do, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit, share a little bit more about what that is. But I'd love to know what it is that brought you here.
well, I mean, it's been an interesting sort of experience overall. I actually am a first generation Iranian American, and coming here from where we were, and is a massive, massive decision on my parents' part to give us better
Yeah,
opportunity to live here. So very grateful for them for that as well, and I think because of them making that major decision in their life to sacrifice all they had and come here really gave me a push to go for what feels right for me instead of what is expected. Uh, so for the most part, I've always been interested in psychology, but also I'm also been very just navigated towards this direction because people came to me for like problem solving, and just they gravitated towards me for mediation and things like that. I'm like, this isn't strange, but I had this capacity to just sit down and listen to people's sides and problem solve with them, and I enjoyed it. So that's how it started.
yeah,
And then I was interested in like human behavior and
mhm,
how people chose what they chose, or the social aspect of their interaction, and what made people decide what they decide, or their decisions to do things that didn't make sense. So all of that curiosity around that really made me want to go and delve into it further. So I went into social psychology, behavior, and for my bachelor's, and then I worked at a internship for a domestic violence shelter, and I saw a lot of people with like acute psychotic symptoms, and I then was like, well, okay, well, what is that? And I want to learn more about that. So I went into clinical psych for a graduate degree, and then basically took on from there. And
yeah,
as soon as I graduated, this opportunity came up to work at a psych hospital, and well, this is it. If I want to learn what I want to learn the most, this is the this chance to do that. So worked there for about several years, actually, as a therapist and then a rehab director, as you mentioned. And then I think over time, I just built on the skills and learn more about myself as well, about my own, insecurities, or my own experience of like what therapy is, and just wanted to basically get more in touch with my own ability to handle certain circumstances. And I was really good at being quiet and calm during sort of
yeah,
crisis time, so it seemed like it was a good fit. So I kind of wanted to go into the aspect of out community-based therapy and see how I can support clients out in the community, which was more difficult than I thought.
yeah,
In hospital, everything's supervised, with out in the community, there's so much that's like out of your control. And my supervisor was really great to teach me about how to handle that, your own anxiety when it comes to supporting clients, and not uh, just jumping to solve problems for them, and letting them do what they need to do, and being there supporting them on the sideline. So
yeah.
it's really wonderful. And at this point, what I learned there in both settings definitely helped me with private practice. So I just, it's like a breeze here in comparison to
Yeah.
the work that I've done there.
Very cool. Well, a couple things I want to say. I've interviewed, it's interesting. I've interviewed two other people, Armenian people. It's been fun. One of them is a Harvard graduate, and she was like I can't remember her whole story, but she was winning, like, was nominated for these major awards at Harvard or whatever, doing really well, and was a mentor and all. And she's in the back of, I can't remember if we did, I believe we did her on Starter Girlz because I had two shows running at one time, but amazing young woman. And the other one that I remember was a guy here locally that actually fled back in the day, the Armenian War, and came here and basically reestablished such an incredibly great story of just survivorship. But you're like my third person that I've met that's Armenian. And what a neat opportunity to be able to come here and to look at all three of you. And I think, man, all three of you came here as basically immigrants or however you got here, and you have these amazing success stories. I think it's always great. I wanted to say something about the work that you do, because I feel like, and obviously I'm completely different, I'm a different person, but I feel like you and I share this same thing, as I have a natural inclination to want to understand people, like why they do things, why they make the decisions they do, why they don't make decisions, why they make dumb ones, like. And even when COVID first started, I don't know if I shared this with you. I took a social psychology class. I just decided to take this social psychology class for continuing education. And the whole reason I did this is because I wanted to understand why everybody was freaking out when COVID, for like why there was so much mass hysteria. I was trying to understand all this. And I learned a lot about, like, I studied Stanley Milgram and a lot of different things that came up in all of that. But the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I think so much of, I feel like in my life, and I wanted to ask you this, has been shaped sort of by my younger formative years. And what I mean by that is that couple different things. One, I had probably some maybe like life situations that as a child, I was really trying to understand them. Like, I was trying to understand, why were we dealing with this, or why was this happening? And really, my brain, I feel like, just sort of kind of went on overdrive of trying to really understand that. And I don't know about you, but people used to tell me when I was a kid, they're like, you overthink, you just think way too much. But one of I feel like my super strengths, and you mentioned this, is always been my ability to sort of look at situations in moments of crisis and go, okay, what do we need to do? What is the thing that needs to happen here? But also to look at people's situations and go, okay, you're freaking out. You're freaking out. How do we find the middle of this? Like, how do we pull what we need to pull? And so interestingly, Fedra, I'm in the middle of this program right now. And I maybe told you this, Shirzad Sherman, he talks about these different saboteurs. My number one, you're going to love this. My number one saboteur is the hyper rational, the number one saboteur. And so when I'm in this, I'm laughing about this because I'm thinking all this need to understand people and dynamics and situations is actually my strength, but it's also can be my saboteur. You know what I mean? And so I'm curious to know from you, do you feel like so much of this has kind of been just really, you kind of said that a little bit, as a child, just really shaped by this understanding, like, what's your friends? I can see you like sitting out there with your friends and they're like having this dilemma, and you're like, let me think about this for a minute, and I'm going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, of course. It's like, where is she? Is she here with us? No, I'm in my mind thinking, why did you say that? And over analyzing is it's a skill, but at the same time, it can be, a little too much in this sort of atmosphere where we just have to be present and enjoy. But I think, like, over time, I've learned to dial it all down. And I think initially, maybe at the beginning, I was more in my head, but now I'm a lot more present. And again, more things have happened over time for me,
Sure.
and I've changed a lot, I would say, within the past 2 years than I have in my entire however time I've, like, my life. So
Right.
I think that everything happens for a reason, and things happen to shift you and change you into something better. And so I'm happy and grateful, for all of it, although some of it was harder than what I wanted to.
Sure.
Over time, I've become a lot less analytical, or I turn off the hat, when I go
Yeah.
out with people, and I'm a lot more present and enjoy. I think I have to learn to balance that
Yeah.
much better now.
Well, and I'm sure too, it's like everything you do, right? Like if you did karate and taught it every day, you're not going to be wanting to go home and do karate every day, right? Like you
Yeah.
got to turn that. And I get it, even like when I've worked with clients and stuff, it's funny. It's hard because you're right, because it's so much of your world, right? Like it's so much of your dialogue in your world that you have to be careful, because I find myself, it's so funny, like, I'll go through and I'll find myself and go, are we trying to teach a lesson right now? Like we don't need to be teaching anybody lessons right now. Nobody cares, because it becomes part of what you do every day. And especially like, like I say, even in like the work I do when I'm working with clients, but also these conversations, I spend a lot of time having dialogue. And a lot of these dialogues are high level conversations, so that is my world every single day. And when you're talking like that, you're right. You have to sometimes turn that off because not everybody around you wants to share that, wants to hear that, or be a part of that. Right. And you have to recognize that this is you here, but you also have another world where you are dealing with other human beings. And again, remember what I said in the beginning, the complex things, human beings, right?
Yeah, you might be born as a problem solver. That's just how you are, and that's just like what you end up
Exactly.
doing. But
Yeah.
people don't all want to come to talk to you to solve their problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't
So
want
you
one.
just have to know where people are at and
I agree.
what's they're looking for. So,
I agree.
I know. I think basically your energy, can shift if you want it. Like I learned a lot about energy as of late, and I
Yeah.
love it. So I think in the past I was analyzing a lot, but now I'm recognizing that to be present is like your gift. So I'm always less in my head and more here
Yeah.
to be present with people.
That's
So
good. No, yeah. Being present is, I agree. I mean, and that's why I talk so much about just pausing, like when you're dealing with things, like that's one of my big words this year is just pause. Like you don't have to have the answer for everything you do. You don't have to solve everything. And that's one of the things, even in this program I'm talking or he's talking about, is that when you're dealing with something, whether it be a situation or, something yourself or maybe somebody else, and you don't know what to do with it, and you don't necessarily have to fix it right now. Maybe you just accept for the moment, right? Like you just accept it for the moment, and so that's my big thing right now, Fedra, is sometimes because I get, frustrated about something and I really just I want to immediately go in and be like, how do I figure this out? Because I don't want to deal with this again. Like and so sometimes you just don't have the answer. And so I'm learning to tell myself just pause for a moment.
yeah,
you
letting
know?
it go. Let it
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Just
Don't
pause and then you can
worry,
decide.
answers will
Yeah.
come to you. Sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't come right away, so you
I
just have to
agree.
being patient is, like, the number one thing everyone I would love to, like,
Yeah.
work with, because sitting with the unknown and not knowing, I think is, like, a very difficult thing to do unless you go through some experiences in your life where it pushes you to be that way, and then that's a
Right.
skill you build. It's
Yeah.
not easy, because we're all planning
Right.
ahead, years, and I get that, and totally put the
Yeah.
seed out there and plan for it, but don't wait for it to see what happens. Just let it grow for itself, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you totally. So when a client comes to you, tell us a little bit about like what kind of, I guess maybe what kind of modalities that you use. You don't have to go through everything because I know you're probably like me, you got lots of things in your wheelhouse, but just tell us kind of what is the main things that you work with them on. So that somebody listening to this be like, okay, what exactly is she, doing? And I know you don't want to talk about this forever, but I do want them to know what you do. So tell them a little bit about that.
So I work with a lot of young adults and adults with neurodivergence, as you mentioned, that they have difficulty struggling with life changes, or overcoming struggles of, what they're dealing with at this point with either professional work or school or relationships, and just putting the grounding themselves and figuring out what best decisions to make at possibly earlier in life. And I love that, because I would have loved someone to given me advice when I was 16, 15, and given that level of reminder of like, hey, don't worry so much about this and try to understand what do you really want to do, and don't be too overly influenced by the social standards, and
Right.
kind of focus on what do you want more. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not easy. That's not an
No.
easy task to do for anyone, not to mention someone who's going through some struggles with, possibly neurodivergence. So first off is to teach them how to learn to cope better with a lot of stressors in life, and become able to better address situations over time. At the same time, also helping them, guide them a bit towards what is their really invested interest and what they passion, what they're interested to do for their life. So
Yeah, that's good. We have a lot of that neurodivergence in my home. There's a lot of that around here. I tell you, one of the biggest things in here is that just when you were talking about like dealing with stressors and stuff, I'm like just staying here, like no walking off, deal, cope things, like I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's like we get a lot of that in here, like people are, I'm not talking, I'm done. Everybody's walking off. I'm like, dude, no, we got to stay here. We got to finish. We have to finish.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that the hard part is for their parents to recognize that sometimes it takes them to experience things to,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's some difficult experiences to learn things, and you
Yeah.
have to be patient with them in that process. But as if
Yeah.
you teach them the right skills, they can cope better, and they can, you know,
Right.
go through it easier than they would have if they had known how to. So with
Right.
some of
Right.
these mindfulness skills, some of these ability to uh, come down to understanding why they do what they do, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
addressing that,
Right.
and not making it a bad thing, but more so like just a different way of doing it rather than
Yeah.
just experience differently.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's funny. This morning I was talking to my husband about my son, my youngest. So I've had two of my kids. My oldest, my youngest were 80, gifted and talented, and they both got diagnosed with ADHD, both of them. Now my husband comes in the other day and says, I think I have ADHD. I said, really? I've been married 29 years. You think we're just now having this conversation? But here's the funny thing, because I was talking about my son this morning, and I said, "Oh, my son has to do everything so hard, like everything has to," and then I had to pause because I thought, "Oh, he's like his mom." He has to learn. Everything just has to be hard, and you have to learn the hard way. I'm in my 50s now, so I'm kind of settling down a little bit, I think. But I tell you, I still have to have those moments, Fedra. I'm have to remind myself. I'm like, Jennifer, we don't have to do this the hard way. Just stop and think about it. But what's that saying? The apple meet tree, or apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It,
it's a funny
and it's
thing.
okay. I think that's, as without knowing, we're modeling, but also at the same time, once you see it in them, you're like, whoa, they're just like me. Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
It's a
that.
light, it's a moment, right? It's a wake up to you. You're like
Yeah, they're
you're like,
reflecting back
"Dang."
to you. It's
Yeah,
like,
you realize how it's so funny, as I don't know about you, we're gonna get back on this, but when I was a kid, I have these, like, I was probably not, my mother will tell you, probably not an easy child to deal with. I had one younger sister. She was really easy. I was not. I was always moving out, 4 years old, packing my suitcase up, hiding behind the car because I was out the door. But she used to always tell me, she'd say, I hope when you have kids, you get one that's just like you. And so when I had my first child, my daughter, I thought, oh my God, I don't want a daughter to be the firstborn, because if I have a daughter and she's the first, I'm a firstborn. If she's the firstborn, she's going to be just like me, and it's going to be terrible. Well, I had my firstborn, pretty easy child. She's like my husband, pretty easy child. She's a school teacher now, bilingual school teacher, does her thing. Then I had my middle child, daughter, and that one, she was stubborn, but still kind of that quiet stubborn, the just not loud, but kind of quiet. And then I got my boy. I got my youngest, and everybody's like, "Oh, the boys are the easiest." Oh no, not that one. That one is the one that's like me. That is the one that came out that I realized trickle down. That is just, and it's so funny because we are even, I mean, he has some things like my husband, but I laugh because we will get into these debates and he'll be like, you're yelling. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're yelling. And we're both yelling. We're both doing it, and we realize how much alike we are in a lot of the things we do. So I just think it's a funny story. You just, one, be careful what you wish for. And sometimes even what you think, you just never know, you know? Like I would have never pegged the last one, the boy would have been the close, the one that's the most like me. So
But you learn though. So this is the thing. I
yeah,
realized, I'm like, wait a minute. How was my relationship with my mom? How was that like? And
yeah,
did
yeah,
she like,
that was another one. Yeah.
like, did she, how much did that help? How much did that not help? What was it like with my family, my parents? And they're like, wait a minute, were they too involved or
Yeah.
overly or under involved? Like where? And so you learn from their mistakes and not to do that with your
I
kids.
agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean,
Yes, and that was probably a whole nother we could have a whole nother conversation. Why was I sitting outside moving out, right? Like, why was I leaving before my mother will tell you? She's like, that kid was stubborn. Like, I was doing that. I did move out at 19, by the way. I was like, the day I was like, as soon as I turned 18, I'm out of this house. I had to wait a little bit, and then I left. So, all right, this has been awesome. Okay, so I would love to ask you this question because this is my favorite question about success. Because I feel like this question, if I asked you this, 10 years ago, 5 years ago now, like you asked me even 5, 10 years ago, it's a very different answer. So I'd love to know from you, what success looks like now, what that means to you. And I'm assuming it's evolved. So tell us a little bit about that, like how that feels for you at this stage of your life.
well, like I said, the past 2, 3 years definitely, shifted me a lot. But so prior
Yeah.
to that, I mean, even maybe 10 years ago, I was very much, you know, run by expectations of my family and what I was supposed to
Right.
do at certain stages of my life. And so that success was geared from what they thought was, success basically for me and or also society,
Right.
obviously. Just, was about reaching your highest accolades, success in your career and basically becoming comfortable financially enough to enjoy life and family
Yeah.
and not be so focused on that. And that's still some of that, but I think past several years I went through some experiences of exploring like what it really meant for me and and it wasn't exactly what everyone expected of me because of my family being very traditional in their way of looking at
Sure.
things. It wasn't what was supported as much, but I had to go towards what I really want and what I felt was right for me. And sometimes that's hard to look back and think, why didn't I make that decision for myself earlier on?
Right.
And was so easily influenced by others around me. But it takes sometimes experiences or it takes you just growing older and getting to know yourself better and making more decisions aligned with what you feel is right for you. So and now success looks more like um reaching a what is my joy and what gives me just blissful happiness and just day to day and if it's exciting, if it's fun, if it's makes me want to wake up and go for, seek my day out and do it. That's what for me success is because if I am happy, if I have all that joy, then I'm giving it out to everyone around me, right? So I'm
Right.
not being sort of living up to others' expectations around it. And now I feel like success means to live it fully, presently, enjoy life, pass it down, pass it to others, help other people, and just know that you're making a difference in people's lives and keep going. And who knows what else could come as a consequence of your following your true, soul path, as they say. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good. And I think you're right about that. I do think life shapes us, but it is also that getting comfortable with ourselves, right? And the thing is, you said like sometimes we wish we knew it sooner, right? Like why did we do it? But I think that even when you get to that place, like I feel like it took me a really long time to get okay with not that I had a problem making decisions. I've always been a decision maker, but being okay maybe with making mistakes. And so what I mean by that is that I don't really fear a lot of my decisions. Like I was talking to a friend a while back because I was in the process of trying to do something that was going to require some money. I was going to be moving my podcast to a bigger platform, and obviously that it costs money to do these things. And one of my friends was saying something to me about, well, what happens if it doesn't, do well or whatever? And I'm like, well, if it doesn't do well, I learned, okay, we don't do it again. I mean, like I just sort of I look at things and go, like if something happens, I mean, you're still going to gain something from it. And I think that comes because I've had to do a lot of really, I feel like hard moments that a lot of these things seem pretty trivial to me in the scheme of things. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Or maybe it's like we're talking about here, where I've just gotten to a place where I'm like, okay, if it's not a fit, then it's not the worst thing that can happen. I had this mentor I worked with for 2 years, and he always used to say, like, to what extent is it bad? Because we say it's bad. To what extent?
Yeah.
Because it's all perception. It's what we're making it be, right? Nobody's telling us that. We're putting that in our head and telling us that this is the way it is. We don't have to listen to everybody else and believe everybody else's dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, they're not living your life. They're not in your shoes. They're doing their thing, and their experience of their life was very much intricately made for them. And so to be comparing yourself with others, it's almost like losing sight of who you are. And I've learned to actually come down to, like, what's your ego,
Yeah.
pushing for versus what your internal gut soul is talking to you. Because your ego compares. Your ego,
Right.
looks at things that not working right, or
It's your
insecurities that
judge,
happen.
right? It's
Right. Exactly.
that
It's critical. Is your
yeah.
brain. Right.
Yes.
So don't just when you come to align with your internal gut and heart, those two, you kind of understand that you're going in your own path and journey. So the only
Right.
thing you're comparing yourself is like the steps you're taking for the next thing for yourself. It's almost like you're just your blindsiders are on, and you're just going in towards what you want more, and not getting distracted by everyone else's experience of what they want, because some don't would never do what you would have done, or never been in your steps of where you were. So how can you compare anyway? So
Exactly.
and that's hard, because
Yeah.
that's coming out of that beaten path and going with what feels really right for you. And
Right.
at times, like initially when you start, it's not easy, but as you go along and you remember to come back to you over and over and over, then you feel like there's things come to you. Like, I don't know, universe gives you signs, signals, and
Right.
give you like, oh, hey, here's an opportunity. And like, well, that's actually what I want. Really, that's weird. That's exactly what I want. So then you just have to remember these things are coming to you for a reason, and take them.
Yeah.
Take the opportunity.
That's good. This is going to lead me into another question, because if we have somebody right now, like they're sitting stuck, maybe there is this opportunity coming forward, or maybe they're stuck with a dilemma with a person. I don't know. What are maybe some steps they could do, or maybe we don't have to get into a lot of them, but maybe one thing they could do to maybe pull themselves out of that or work towards getting them. Obviously, I mean, not everything is that easy that it's just pull yourself out, but something they could work towards maybe making that next step, that next shift.
Yeah. So, uh, sometimes all these things in life come at you to hold you back from these signs or opportunities that come in. You're like, why did this happen right now? Right when I'm about to
Right.
make this decision to take on this opportunity, it's for a reason, because you're used to some pattern that you're comfortable with, and
Right.
and to surpass that and keep going, it takes a push from you to trust yourself more. So how do you trust yourself more is understand that you just have to take tiny little steps over time. There's no deadline. You're just going slowly like a little turtle and checking off the boxes and going right towards it. So sometimes when you're going towards a goal, instead of looking so far ahead about what, I mean, obviously that's going to be there, but focus on here and now and look down at the steps you're taking, because, that's what's leading you to that. So you need to come
Right.
and break those goals down and make it more feasible, and trust, and you have to believe in yourself. And
Right.
sometimes you have to sacrifice things and bet big, as they say, and
Yeah.
just go for it. And I know sometimes that's hard to do, but you learn from it. And however things go, something comes out of that as well. If it doesn't always go according to what you want. So lower your expectation, be more reasonable, go slower, and stay present. Stay focused on what's going on. And I know there's distractions. Try not to get distracted and keep going. Stay mindfully present. That is key. There's actually a scientific experiment now. They're talking about what is like a high level of intelligence called metacognition. I've actually learned about this.
Mm.
So being more present, being more here and now, and taking these things, small steps towards the next step, it makes you more present. And obviously meditation, that's what it does. It brings you more in the
Yeah.
now. And that teaches you how to slow down and catch yourself when you have these thoughts that are not helpful, and recognize them, and not be distracted by them, and just let them go. So
Yeah.
you become zoned in.
Right. Right. Well, and here's a fun question I'd love to ask you, because I haven't asked this one in a while, and you made me think about it. What do you love about what you get to do? Like, what's the best part of this work that you get to do?
Well, obviously, seeing people change their life and make better decisions, or feel better, or I mean, improve, and then go on, and then leave.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like, well, bye, but
Right.
it's fun
Right.
working with you. But I'm so happy to see them do more of what they want, and feel joy in their life, and
Yeah.
just thrive, and get to where they want to be, or make those decisions that were risky, and like come out of it feeling great,
Yeah.
so and then I've worked with people, some long term, some short term, all of them. uh each of them have their own different experiences, and sometimes recognizing that this is this end stage with me and you, and there will be someone who will take you to the next step, and this is what
Yeah.
we, step off, and you're ready for more. And often, could be they'll be past me, and they're like capable of way more. So then I'm like, here, let me refer you to somebody I know that can help you with that, So not, again, not taking it like personally, and understanding like each person has their own process and path and timeline, and very just being grateful to see them get there, and
Yeah.
next and find their next steps. So
Right. Right. No, I love it. That's great. Well, this has been awesome. I know I could talk to you some more, but I know everybody's got to do things. But I do have a couple fun questions I want to ask you, just to kind of maybe change the direction just a little bit. So it'd be kind of fun. So I kind of told you these beforehand. So for our audience, I don't usually tell them these fun questions. I make them just answer them. But we had a little cheat session before today. So she hopefully had a little bit of time to think about this beforehand. So Fedra, what is something that people would be surprised maybe to learn about you? What's something that they don't know about you that maybe is fun, or something you enjoy to doing, or
well, I'm always, I don't know, like the more I'm a good, I know some people are into astrology, some are not, but I am, and I'm a Sag.
oh yeah.
You're a Sag, you can't, everybody knows, like, oh, get the love traveling, and that's true. I do love traveling. But I also love art and painting and artistic way of looking at things. So that's also the joy in
Yeah.
traveling as well. And I don't know, if I were to be a nomad and just a gypsy, that would be me. Like, I would just take off and go, go, go. And
Yeah.
no one, I'm like, something has to settle me down at times. But for the
Yeah.
most part, I love to just go, and I'm visually just get astounded by so many beautiful things, and especially architectural.
Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah. You're using the other side of your brain. That's a good thing. I always tell people we need to have a little creativity in our world.
yeah,
That's why
yeah, miss it.
I love doing this podcast because that's really my creative outlet. I don't necessarily care about doing all the editing and stuff, that part, but I love this part. I love deciding like who we're going to talk to and kind of how we're going to navigate the episodes and stuff. That's fun. But I do believe we all need a little creative outlet in our lives to make us happier and healthier. All right, this is a fun one I told you beforehand. So if you could teach one life skill in high school that we're going to say is currently not being taught, what would it be? What would be like one thing you would teach high school kids?
I mean, I think maybe a lot of schools have learned that obviously therapy is helpful. But I do think teaching them how to be more present.
Mm,
I brought it up earlier. It
yeah,
is so important to learn to, if you can't meditate, it's fine, but there's other ways to be more mindful, be present without meditating, and to bring them back to your senses and learning about like what are the senses that you enjoy the most as to
yeah.
smell, touch, or vision, obviously, like what bring consumes you in that calmness
Hmm.
and being more present. So,
Yeah,
teaching them how to do that and being more here and now, it's a major, major important factor because then they can again align with their internal voice and they can
right,
hear it better because
right.
they're
Oh, it's
quieting down the noise outside.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that one. No, I was agreeing with you. I think even just about practicing that teaches you patience and stuff, right? Like life skills. I mean, it really just teaches you to pause. That my word I told you for the year, pause. It just makes you think to slow down for a minute. So
But also, you're going away from your head and you're going more into your body,
yeah,
and you're learning to hear more from your body than you are from your brain. And when I say
right.
body, I mean like your gut, your heart,
Yeah,
just that inner voice that says like, "Hey, I think you should do this," or maybe that's not a good idea.
right, right. Oh, good stuff. All right. And if you had a theme song, we talked about this one, a theme song for this time of year, what would it be called? What would it be? It could be one already, or you can make it up. It could be your own. It could be Fedra's theme song.
There's a few, but I think I don't know why "Stronger" came into my head with Kelly
Yeah.
Clarkson.
I know which one. I'm like singing it right now in my head. I was like, I'm like, I know what she's talking about. I know where she's going.
Yeah,
You did not tell me this before we did this recording. So I did not guess that. I just immediately you said that. I'm like, uh-huh, that's her word. That's her song.
yeah, finding the strength within to keep going and not slow down just because of whatever happens in your environment. And like I always tell people, there's a train, it keeps going. Jump back
Yeah,
on.
that's right.
Don't get distracted, or if you fall off, it's okay. Jump back on and keep going. So
Yeah. No, that is good. Hey, well, this has been awesome. You're doing amazing work. I'm so glad we got to get on here and get caught up and talk about this stuff. And I know, this is your life. This is what you do. And that's the beautiful thing about this podcast is that we get to share these stories and talk about what people love doing and what that success looks like for them and the passion and all of that. But I think, like I'm listening and I think the big thing on this is the mindfulness, be present. I feel like that's the big takeaway in this entire episode that might be the title somehow that might have something to do with our title, just being
yeah,
present,
it's
you
out
know?
there. You have to
Yeah.
know at the end of the
Yeah.
day, if you just quiet things down and be present, you hear yourself and your soul tell you
Yeah.
a lot more and guide you better. And just trust it that there's a reason for that. So that you're going towards a direction where I think you're supposed to go.
Right.
So don't don't let it go by the wayside. Listen.
Yeah. Love it. All right, Vedra, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, maybe they want to reach out to you or they want to follow you or whatnot, where do we want to send them?
There's a website, horizonsempowerment.com. That's my website. And they can always find me on Psychology Today as well. I'm on there. And I don't know, there's many ways, but they can always find me, my business number on the Google. So
Yeah.
it's on there. So they can
Okay.
find me if they just
Yeah.
Google my name.
That's what I
Uh,
tell people too. Your name, it's like my last name. There's not many of us out there. I'm like, people be like, how do you play? Like, I'm just like, just go start typing Jennifer Loehding. Yeah, I probably will pop up because I've got a lot of stuff out there and stuff. So yes, but we'll make sure when we get the show notes, we'll get the actual website in the show notes so they know where to go to and the links and all that good stuff. So this has been fun. I'm so excited I got to chat with you today and just want to say thank you for sharing with us and talking a little bit about your work and what you're doing and what you're passionate about and the big success thing because that's my favorite thing. Like it was so funny, spot I think it was Buzzsprout. I can't remember if it was Buzzsprout or Spotify. One of them tells you like what's your word that you use for the year. And it was so funny because my number one word was the word business. And I'm like, did I even say that in this episode? But that was like my number one word. And the reason I'm telling you this is because when I first started doing this podcast, this will kind of tie into like this whole getting comfortable with yourself, and then we'll end this. But in the very beginning, when I started doing this podcast, I would get hung up on like buzzwords a lot. So I would say things like amazing, 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 or 100%, 100%, 100%. Joe Rogan says 100%. You'll hear him say it all the time. That was my word. And my videographer at the time would make fun of me. He would laugh at me because he'd say, you say that word a lot. And so Fedra, I got like conscientious about it. Like I started getting hangups about it. And then I'd start being like, oh, so you know what I did? I started making a game out of it. And every time I would get done with the video, I would be like, how many times today did Jennifer say the word 100% in that episode? Like I'm going to start counting how many times I did it. And interestingly enough, I sort of stopped doing that. Like you probably didn't even hear me say the word. I don't even know if I said amazing.
No, I didn't hear at all once today.
Yeah,
So like,
I just kind of stopped doing it. And so that's why I thought it was funny when I got this thing. It said your number one word was business. And I'm like, business? I mean, yeah, we are talking about that, but I didn't even know I was saying business. Anyways, so fun. But the thing with the whole thing is, like I had to let go, get off of being hung up about it. And once I got off of being hung up about it, it sort of just kind of faded off and didn't become a
yeah.
big deal.
Yeah,
So,
it's your subconscious too.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
have this on the backdrop just there, like
Yeah.
so
I like the word amazing, by the way. I think it's a great word and you're amazing. And I want to tell you, thank you for
thank
coming
you.
on here today and sharing with us all of your knowledge and good stuff and inspiring our people. And hopefully somebody here will hear this and be inspired and maybe they'll want to follow you or reach out. Who knows, right?
Well, yeah, I just love to spread the knowledge, as I say, and what I've learned, and it's been so helpful for me. Also, listen to podcasts and hearing what everyone else's experience has been like, and understanding like we're all having sometimes similar experiences, and it's great to be guided by that as well. So I'm very appreciative to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you. And of course, we appreciate our audience. We want to tell you thank you so much for plugging in. And we hope that you found this episode both inspiring and informative. And if you did, you know what to do. All the things like, share, comment, subscribe so we can keep sharing all of this fabulous content. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.